Hello and welcome to this month's GP Optimizer Unlocking the Power of Dynamics GP webinar. Today's presentation is Transforming HR Management with Integrity Data and Rockton Software as your sponsors. Today I have Patrick Doolin with Integrity Data and then Blake Rockwell with Rockton Software as our presenters today. From a logistical standpoint, I want to let everybody know that this is being recorded and it will be sent out after our session today. And if you have questions, we do suggest that you put them in the Q&A section of the GoToWebinar, and we'll read through those at the end. We'll save those towards the end, and we'll address as many as we can. If we have to take some of those offline or follow up with you afterwards, we'll do that as well. And before we get started today, I just wanted to share some information with you. We have some awesome results from a recent survey that was conducted by Dynamics Connections. And one of the data points was 90% of ISVs surveyed are continuing to plan and develop on top of the GP platform. 96% of that development is new features and based off of customer requests and feedback. So that's pretty exciting, and that's kind of why the GP Optimizer is bringing and continuing to bring additional GP supporting ISVs and VARs to the community. At the end of the session today, I'm going to actually include a QR code in the Q&A section where you can scan that, and then you could actually look at the feedback from the entire survey. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Patrick, not Dan, but Patrick. So he's much better at presenting than Dan is. So we're going to hand it over to him so he can jump into his presentation. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jen. Thank you for joining. Just a quick little intro here. So Patrick with Integrity Data. We're in the business of helping HR and payroll professionals own their time. We've been in the GP business for 27 years and started with just trying to help customers do things with the software that it didn't normally do or do out of the box, and kind of landed in HR and payroll. I had some prior experience in that industry, and customers kept coming to us looking for improvements to payroll and HR for GP. So here we are, this many years later, and honored to be presenting today. So what we're going to talk about today is how to leverage GP to do more for you, and how to expand its capability and functionality around employee self-service and around HR without having to change anything inside of GP. So just a quick story, I guess. We have conversations with GP customers every week, and we hear them give reasons or struggles, things that they're dealing with in the software, wish they could have different. And there are three that rise to the top just about every time. And they are that they need employees to be able to access information on their own. They want a portal. Be able to answer some of those questions on their own. They want to get rid of some paper because they still have a lot of paper forms, and they have to re-enter a lot of data into GP. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to show you how HR and payroll professionals can address each one of those three areas and more as we walk through a very quick demonstration here for you. Something else to note is what we're going to show here today is it's released, it's been in market, we have customers using it, and it bolts on directly to your GP payroll solution. So you don't have to change the way you process payroll or anything in GP. So it just bolts right on. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. It looks like I need to be made a presenter again so I can share that.
Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and do that for you, Patrick.
Okay. All right.
Let me know if that works, Patrick.
That is working. All right, here we go. So I am going to walk through this by telling a little bit of a story. So let's pretend that it's a beautiful Saturday morning in the spring, and Peter Ackerman is at the car dealership with his wife shopping for a new vehicle, and they're about to pull the trigger, and the dealer says, "Hey, we need a copy of your last pay stub to verify your income." And he's like, "Okay," and he just pulls out his phone and accesses their system, pulls up that pay stub, and uh, and provides it for them. And then he's sitting there, and his wife says, "Oh, by the way, you probably better change our direct deposit allocation so that we have more money in our savings to cover this payment." He's like, "Okay," and he makes that change. So what I'm going to do is just walk through his experience, keeping in mind that he works for Fabricam and they're running GP and GP payroll. So as Pete logs into his portal, this is what he sees. We'll walk through a little bit of this further in just a minute. He can simply go to view my pay history, see his last check, click on it, and there's his pay stub. He can email it, he can print it, he can save it, he can do whatever he needs to do from here. That simple. Likewise, while he's here, he's like, okay, yeah, we might as well go ahead and make that direct deposit change. So let's do this. I'm going to say, let's do new. It pulls in my information of what I currently have for direct deposit across these three accounts, pulling straight from GP. And come down here and say, this one we're at 70. We probably better make that $125. And I'm going to submit this change request. Now, at this point in time, that direct deposit change request has, I'm sorry, click too quick there. It shows as pending or submitted. It is sitting waiting for someone in payroll and HR to approve that. And he's done. He has nothing further to do. It was that simple and that easy. Like, can it really be this easy? And yes, it can. So I'll cover a little bit on the portal here while we're here, and then we're going to jump over to GP and look at some things as well. So inside this portal, I've got a user ID and password to log in. It's a secure environment. Information often moves between employers and employees through email, which is not necessarily a secure environment. So all of this is being done inside. We don't have to worry about, is that change request for my direct deposit legitimate, or is that a phishing scam or someone trying to get my information? It's all right within the system that you've got to log into, where you would recognize your company logo and brand in the process. This is a very mobile adaptive user interface. I have it widened here for the sake of the webinar, but as I mentioned, you would use it from a mobile device. So here I have access to company announcements that are published by you, the employer. They come on and go off as time goes by. I have access to my pay history that we looked at, my PTO balances, and here's a document that's saying I need to sign for the new handbook. I can expand this a bit and look at more information. So if I was available to, maybe it was open enrollment season, I'd have a link to enroll in benefits. I can look at my summary information and what's the information I have on file for my address and my position and et cetera, et cetera. I can view and change emergency contacts. I can look at the documents that I have out there. Here's where I have this 2023 handbook that I already signed, but it's document signing requested for the 2024 handbook. Okay, well, I probably better look into that. You can just click on it and view it. But I can also, we saw the direct deposit and the pay history, but maybe I want to look at my W-2. Maybe I need that for showing the car dealership. There's a W-2. All of this again pulling straight from GP. Or W-4, life event change, had a baby, marital status change, something along that line. I need to submit a new W-4. I can just click new, pulls in all of my existing information. It's all a digital form. I complete it, and I say, okay, I'm going to digitally sign it and save and submit for approval. Now these changes are pulling from GP automatically, but they're not writing to GP if an approval is required. So we can take a look at that and show you how that works. But in general, this is a quick overview of how I, as an employee, can interact with my data with my employer that's using GP payroll, and there's no additional changes needed by you as the employer. So quickly, we will see if we can minimize this and pull up GP. So just here, we'll review Peter's file here inside of GP. So while we're here, just for the sake of showing you the real-time integration, I'm just going to change his address from 108 to 128 Lincoln Avenue, and maybe I'll change his phone number. Okay. But I want to also show you while I'm here, we look at his direct deposit information. Here's that $70 that we changed to 125. So that information has not been updated in GP yet because it's not yet been approved. Okay, so we'll go ahead and approve that, show you what that process is like. Made these couple changes here. I'm just going to hit save. I'm going to jump back into self-service, and I'm going to log in as an administrator. Now I'm logged in as administrator. I have more information available to me. I've got some metrics. There's access to more parts of the system. This is where, full HRIS system, everything from applicant tracking to paperless onboarding, the centralized documents as part of that digital personnel file, benefit administration, performance reviews, tracking, certifications, license, training, et cetera, all of that in here and seamlessly integrated GP. I have a management tab over here. Here you can see is the W-4 that was just submitted by Peter. Well, we come down here, here's this direct deposit workflow that was submitted. And just click this. It pulls in the information. It shows that he's currently at 70. If I scroll down, you can see he's at 125. I say, yeah, okay, that's fine. At this point, I can approve, return a request additional information, reject it. We're just going to go ahead and approve it. At this point, it's updating GP with that information. So no paper and no rekeying of information. So we'll go back to GP and check that out. Actually, I want to show I'm logging back in as the employee now. Just real quick to show you the information that we changed with the address. So now it's 128 Lincoln Avenue, phone number over here, 5566. So real-time, seamless integration with the GP payroll database. Right, so let's go back and show, we're back inside of GP. Here's the employee. One thing I was going to show is that although we replace in HR the functionality of the GP HR module, so we're totally replacing that, there are still components of GP HR that can be used, such as the emergency contacts and things like that, that will still link up to our HR module and allow the employee to change those on their own through the self-service portal. But we've got, let's make sure I refresh him. We've got Peter here. Go back to payroll, look at his direct deposit. Here's that information that shows you can see the 125 now instead of the 70. So real-time movement of data back and forth between the HR employee self-service module. All of this without any paper forms. Peter did not have to contact payroll or HR and ask them for that information. He was able to get it on his own. You didn't have to, you did not have to rekey any of this information. So it was all seamlessly integrated. So as we talked about these three pieces that we constantly hear about, hopefully this gives you just a quick show of how we've added value to GP, bolt straight on to GP payroll without having to make any changes in the way you process GP payroll. You can empower the employees to access their own information, answer their own questions through the self-service portal, reduce the number of paper forms. We did all this with no paper, and we did not spend any time rekeying information that was submitted. So this gives you just a quick overview. There's tremendous amounts more of information available, functionality available around the rest of HR. This particular example shows all of those kind of the interaction with GP, everything combined in one. So all this without changing GP. Now, I'm going to say this at the risk of, raising some eyebrows by some. But if you find yourself or your employer telling you you're going to have to move to Business Central at some point, if and when you move to Business Central, everything that I just showed you here stays exactly the same and does not need to change. And it will just simply work with our Business Central payroll solution. So all you're doing is changing out the payroll processing in the background from GP to BC. Everything else that we looked at here stays exactly the same. So if you want to learn more about this, dig into the details of more HR functionality, please just contact us and let us know. We're happy to answer whatever questions you have. And so I am going to turn this back over to Blake, who is now going to pick it up and show how the information that we're working with inside of payroll also is being enhanced with the Rockton solution. Take it away, Blake. Blake, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Patrick. Hey, everyone. Sorry about that. It's important to unmute your mic when you're on these so you can hear me. Hello, my name is Blake. I'm the technical sales lead here at Rockton Software. Just a little bit about our company. We are an ISV. We've been helping you work simpler and easier inside of Dynamics GP since 1999. So we've got about 25 years experience doing this. Today, we're going to be looking at how we can help you work simpler and easier, specifically inside the HR and payroll model, building off of kind of what Patrick was showing you earlier. We're going to be taking a look at 3 of our solutions. Those solutions are SmartFill, our Google-style search tool. It's going to help you find information super fast inside of GP. We're also going to take a look at Auditor. Auditor is our auditing solution, so we can track changes that are made inside of GP. And then we also are going to take a look at GP Toolbox, which is going to have some various tools that are going to help you in various aspects around GP, including administration and many other processes. So let's go ahead and hop in and see how we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Give me just a sec while I do that. All right. So it looks like you can see my screen. And the first thing you may notice is that the top of my screen is colored with these beautiful little R's, these rainbow of R's. These are our Rockton solutions, and each of these is going to be a shortcut to tools we're looking at. The first tool we're going to take a look at is SmartFill. That's going to be accessed on this little blue one. But SmartFill is great because it works out of the box and it's ready to go. So let's go ahead and pull up, for example, our employee cards. We've got a bunch of employees and we don't know, and we just want to find them a bit quicker. What we can do is put in any portion of their name or really any other data that we set up to have searched on, and we can go ahead and find that employee just by putting it right here in the field. So very simply, we could type in PLR. If I hit tab is the magic key in SmartFill, it's going to go ahead and fill that in. That's because there was only one employee named PLR, so it's just going to go ahead and fill that in. The really cool thing about SmartFill, though, is that we can set it up to search on other fields. So for example, I've actually added a second name, a maiden name for Pilar. So many of you don't know, but Pilar actually is a distant relative of a very good friend of mine, Patrick. And so when I type in Doolin on that line, just like that, it's going to pull in Pilar Ackerman, just like that, because we have it set up as an alternate name that Pilar's last name is Doolin. So in case you have an employee who maybe had a maiden name and had a name change, you can set it up and still search on your information based on that. As a third example of how far SmartFill can go, we can even search on employee birth month. So for example, employees that were born in November is the 11th month. If I type in 11 on this field and I hit tab, it's going to pull up all of these employees, and you can see here are the 3 ones that have November as the birth month. So now we can go ahead and select that. Right here you can see that Pilar has the nickname and alternate name of Doolin and Rockwell. So we can actually just throw in that last name right here and still find Pilar the same way. So that's SmartFill. The cool thing about SmartFill too is not only does it work right out of the box, but it's pretty much configured to work everywhere across GP where this magnifying glass is. So you're never going to have to click this magnifying glass again. You can just type in exactly what you know right here on the field, and it will go ahead and find what you want to look for. So works across your accounts, your items, your customers, your employees, all that stuff. It's going to make it a lot simpler and easier to work inside of GP and find what you're looking for. So that was SmartFill. Next, we're going to take a look at Auditor. Auditor is our auditing solution for GP. At a high level, it's going to track adds, deletes, and changes anywhere inside of GP, but today we're going to take a look at how it's going to help us in the HR and payroll model. So I've set up a couple audits so that we can audit some information. For example, we'll hop into the benefits. I've gone ahead and made it so that if anyone changes their benefits, we're going to be able to capture those changes. So as you saw earlier with SmartFill, I'll just type in what I know, Pilar, and hit tab. It's going to go ahead and find them. Now we'll slide over and figure out what benefit we want to change. Right here, the benefit code is 401k. I see the benefit tier right here. I have an audit set up on this field. That way, if anyone edits this tier, we're going to be able to track that change. So I'll change 6%. Let's make it up to 7%. And I'm going to hit save. Right now, we're seeing this window pop up. That's because I've set it up to audit with a note. So this field right here requires a note when a user makes a change to let them know why they're making a change. So down here, I can type in the reason. For example, it might be fraud. Then we can apply that to the displayed change. Now that edit is going to show the reason why they made that change. We also can audit many other parts of GP. So let's look at our employees. So let's take a look at some other areas we've audited. How about the direct deposit? We probably don't want our bank information being changed. So if the account number, for example, is changed from 12345 to 23456, and I hit save, this one is set up to audit without a note. So when I hit save, it looks like nothing happened. But do know that that audit was captured. We do know that that change happened, and we can see all of that information inside of our smart list. So that was changing the bank number or account number. And now let's go ahead and look at our smart list and see how those changes were captured. So when you install Auditor, it's going to come with its own folder for your smart lists. So right here, I'll drop down the Auditor folder. It'll come with 3 folders. The great thing too is one of these folders right here, you'll see is security audits. Auditor will automatically audit security changes. So that's just a useful thing to know. That way when security is changed, we'll reflect that. But your main audits are going to be all in this audit log here. We can go ahead and sort that by date. If we wanted to adjust these columns and show more or less information, it's completely customizable, this smart list. So we can go ahead and adjust the columns here. So here we see we have several adjustments here. Right here we can see that on 5/2, which is today, we changed the benefit. Here we are. This is what that audit looks like. So when we drill in, we can see that it was today at 12/22. Here's the event ID. We can see the user and workstation, the company, the fact that this was set up as a table audit. We have 3 types of audits, including a window, table, or SQL table audit. So even if a change is made in the back end, we can set up a SQL table audit to track that change. The table audit is most common though, as that's just going to audit everything on the table. Right here, we can see that this event was an edit as it was changed from 6 to 7. A record wasn't added or deleted. So if a record was added, we added a new employee or something like that, it could show up as an add, or if we deleted something, it would show up as a delete. The group ID, that's the audit I have set up when I named it. And then here is the important information, that field, the table, the record, that was Ackerman that was changed, their 401k. And then we can see that it changed from 6 to 7% and that the reason was fraud. So now we know why that happened, and we can go ahead and make our adjustments as necessary now that we know that. Let's take a look at one of these audits where was the other one? Here is another one, the benefit year max. This is an example of an audit without a note. As you can see right here that we have an edit. It's all the same information. So we see the user, that it was Blake, and then we see the old new value, but then there's no note. So we don't see any details of why, because this wasn't set up to audit with a note. So one reason you may want to audit with or without a note is you might have it set up so that you don't want your end users to know they're being audited. If we decide to audit without a note, then that note window is never going to pop up. That end user is never going to know that they're being audited, theoretically. If that note window pops up, they're probably going to know they're being audited just because that window popped up. There's a couple other features that are included in Auditor, 100% included, and that is e-sign, which is our e-signature. It allows us to put a password on any field inside of GP and password protect it, as well as separation of duties, which just gives us a report so we can check out our security and see where there might be conflicts and how it's set up. So first, let's take a look at our e-sign example. I've already set it up. You just go into this purple R to go ahead to your e-signatures and assignments to create that signature and assignment. I've already done that to save time. So let's hop into the pay code. We're going to take our favorite employee who's a distant relative of Patrick here. So we'll type in Doolin, hit tab, smartphone goes to work and finds Pilar. We'll slide over that pay code. We'll go ahead and find their salary. Here's their salary. Looks like they're making $30,000. Can't believe that in this economy. Should probably give them a raise. Let's make it $30,050. Now they'll be able to afford rent. Let's go ahead and hit save. Right away, I see that this has an e-sign approval needed. So even though I'm logged in, down here you can see I'm logged in as the system administrator. Even though I'm logged in as SA, I still cannot change the pay rate without getting a requester. I have it set up in my system that my e-sign approvers are either SA or Harry, 2 users that can approve e-signs. When I hit plus to go and select my approver, you'll see that only Harry appears even though SA is a requester. Or sorry, even though SA is set up to be an approver. That's because it's a forced check and balance. SA cannot approve themselves, and so they have to get Harry to approve this. So I'll go ahead and select Harry. I put in SA's password. And then I go ahead and select my reason. You can have a predefined list of drop-down reasons that you set up here, or you can type in whatever you'd like. So I'll just say raise. And then I go ahead and hit Q because the submit button is grayed out. That's because Harry isn't logged on. You can see right here, he's online. No, I don't have his GP instance pulled up. So if it was, I could just hit submit and then he'd get a pop-up on his screen right away. But to make sure that we don't slow you down in your work, we added this Q button. So when you hit Q, now it's been queued for approval. We can close the pay code maintenance window, so that change we just made, and continue with our other work. You'll be notified once your request has been approved or denied. So now this field hasn't changed yet. Oh, it's gonna, sorry, I have to log into my email. I have it set up to send out an email notification when an e-signature request is made. So this is GP loading up and telling me, hey, you need to log into your email if you want that email sent. So we'll do that later. So it's not gonna send that email for us, but that's what you're seeing right there. So that's another feature of Auditor is we can actually set up to have email notifications. That's on the normal audits as well as the e-signature. If you want an email to go out to a specific or even multiple addresses, we can set that up as well. So now if I wanted to, I could go ahead and log into Harry, and then as soon as Harry goes to work and clicks on any window inside of GP, they're going to get that pop-up that says, hey, an e-sign was requested. They requested to raise Pilar's salary, $500. Do you approve that change? So that is e-signature. And here's that auditor message center getting that notification that that request was made. Now let's take a quick look at separation of duties. That's the last thing I'm going to show you here in Auditor. So I'm going to hit this drop down and hit segregation of duty groups. Segregation of duty groups is a great way to see how your security is set up and see where there might be conflicts. It's not actually going to prevent users who have mismatched security from doing things they shouldn't, but it's going to be a report that tells you where your conflicts exist, so you can go ahead and change your security to match what you want. So there's 2 options to get this going. We can either import a security group or a security task, and we can also do it manually. So I've gone ahead and imported some security groups. For example, transaction financial 1. These are people who can enter journal entries. I've now added my exclusions down here. So any security task or group you want, or sorry, any security task you want exclusion to be excluded from another security task, you go ahead and add the exclusion down here. So up here, I select 1, and then down here, I select the ones I want to have it exclusive with. I've already selected 3. The exclusion already exists, so that's set up good. And then we'll go ahead and look at transaction purchase 9. We'll go ahead and disguise changes. These are people who can enter payables transactions, and we want that to be exclusive of select payables management checks. So now transaction purchase 9 and 12 are exclusive. So when we go off to print off our report, our segregation of duties conflicts report, it will give us a printed report with all of the conflicts between these users. And when you change security, sometimes GP gets a little bit fussy and you have to open and close this window. And then on the 3rd time, like we like to say, that's the charm. And now it's going to decide it wants to load everything. Oh, still no. We got it though. Give it one more try. Let's close this window. Separation of duties. Once we have it all set up, go ahead and print that report. Oh, it's going to make us do it one more time. Sometimes GP is a little bit fussy with security. I'm sure you are used to that as well. Just give it one more second while it loads those security conflicts. I don't think it liked that I changed what I had set up. So we'll go ahead and print off the report. There we go. So this is what it should look like. If you change some of your separation of duty groups, it might take a second for GP to recognize that and load that all up. But once you open it up, it will show you all these conflicts. So we can see that DynSA is set up to have transaction financial 1 and 3. So we can see right away he has access to both of these groups. Same with down here. He can do all of this, everything in the inner payables management transaction task, as well as the select payables management checks. So we now have a report that tells us where our conflicts are, that there's a conflict between these two. And now I can go and set up my security to be sure that we don't have any more conflicts, and we can go ahead and fix those. So again, this is not going to prevent DynSA from entering journal entries or posting financial series. It's just a report that shows us where the conflict is, so we can go and fix our security. Then we can come back here and check and see if there's no conflicts. So once your security is set up well, there should not be any conflicts on this report. But that is Auditor. Again, Auditor is our super auditing solution. It's going to, at a high level, track adds, deletes, and changes inside of GP, anywhere on your HR and payroll module, of course. And then we will also have that e-sign, so you can password protect a field such as your employee's salary or any other, EFT bank info, really anything you want protected. We can have an e-signer approve that. And then we also have that separation of duties report. So that is Auditor. Next, we're going to take a look for the final tool I wanted to show you today. It's going to be GP Toolbox. GP Toolbox is really not just one tool, but actually 27 tools. So we have a whole bunch of tools put into one amazing package to help you work simpler and easier. And so this red R right here is going to be my shortcut for GP Toolbox. And one of the cool tools I want to show you today, because I don't have time to show you all 27, I'll just pick a couple, is Security What If. So Security What If is a pretty cool tool that's going to show you what happens when a role is added or removed from a user. So we can see what would happen if we change their security. So let's take someone who's not SA. How about John? If I go ahead and take John, we'll see he's a power user, so he's probably going to have most of these. We'll say CA agent. Yep, he already has access to this role. So that's what happens if we hit grant. We're not going to see anything. But if we revoke this, since John is set up as a CA agent, let's go ahead and redisplay that. It's not like in that example. Let's pick a user that's not a power user. I think Reggie might be. Yep, he doesn't have access. So now if we grant him, there we go. So Reggie does not have access to the CA agent. And so if we grant it, here's an example of what he will get. So he'll get access to all of the field service products, and he'll get all of this access here. So right now he doesn't have that. So if we gave it to him, we can see what would change. So this is just a cool way to look at the what if scenarios when you're changing your security inside of GP. Now, by far, our most popular tool inside of GP is, inside of GP Toolbox is going to be Inactivity Timeout. So we'll hop into the System Settings tab where many of our tools are set up here. Inactivity Timeout is our super powerful tool that will gracefully log out users from GP after a predefined period of inactivity. So if you have users who are sitting and using up those licenses and not working in GP, it'll go ahead and kick those out, freeing up those licenses, and that way you don't have to go and spend money on expensive GP licenses. I believe they're about $3,000 a seat. So if you kick them out using GP Toolbox's inactivity timeout, you won't have to do that. I set it up to time them out after 30 minutes. This could be, it's a custom field. So if you want to do it after, say, like the workday, you could do 480 hours. If it's, an 8-hour timeout. I just have it set as 30 minutes. Seems like a good amount of time, but it's totally customizable. And then down here, we can either include or exclude certain user groups. So I have my accounts payable included, and I've added whatever users I want to this AP group. They're included, but they're at a different timer. So they have a 15-minute time of inactive before they're being timed out. So you can time out certain users faster if you'd like. And you can do it by group or just by user. And then right here, my administrators are excluded entirely. So I've created an admin group. I've gone ahead and add what administrators I want into this user group ID here. I say in Harry in this case, and now they are exclusive. So they do not, they're excluded. So they never get timed out, Harry or SA. So that's inactivity timeout. It's really simple. It's awesome. It will free up those licenses, frees up your GP. You do not have to buy more licenses now because those licenses are free for your users who are here and ready to work to hop in. Now, if someone's in the middle of entering a transaction, you'll see it says gracefully logged out here. So if you're in the middle of work, you have unsaved work, it's not going to quit you out and delete all that unsaved work. It's going to wait. It's going to have a pop-up. It's going to say, hey, you're being timed out. Please save your work and quit. And then at that point, your administrator might get a pop-up on their screen that says, hey, this person is being timed out and they have work. So then you can physically walk over to their computer. If you're in a remote setting, you could call them up and say, hey, go ahead and save that work so we can get you logged out and free up that license. So that's inactivity timeout. We're going to take a look next at system lockout. System lockout is one of our administrative tools. So we looked at some of our security tools. We have administrative tools in GP Toolbox. So business process tools, user experience tools, widgets. So I'll show you maybe one from each. So let's take a look at system lockout. And before we hop into there, you might see that some of these have cancel signs and some of them have check signs. That's if they're enabled or disabled. The really cool thing about GP Toolbox is enabling disabled tools is as simple as the click of a button. If I want system lockout on, it's on now. If I want it off, I click it once. Now system lockout's off. And if I click it once again, it's on. So tools are that simple to turn on and off. Let's drill into system lockout and see how it's set up. So system lockout allows the system administrator to set up a time frame where users are locked out from the company. So I've set it up that from, for example, 2028 to 2035, users are completely locked out of all companies. That might be kind of an interesting one. So we can also have a scheduled lockout. So I have a different one. Here's a scheduled lockout. That's actually this lockout. It's not for all day. It's from for the next 7 years. They will be locked out between Friday at 6 p.m. and Monday at 5 a.m. So outside of really common working hours, your system is locked down. No one can log into your company or into your GP. And we can do it by company as well, which is cool. So if you want to lock out just one company, if you're using multiple companies, you can set it up by company here. In my example, I just have Fabricam, so it doesn't really make a difference for me. And then just like with inactivity timeout, we can have user groups who we include or exclude. In this case, my administrators are excluded. We don't want them ever locked out of the system. And then also I've made my accounts payable excluded if you'd like them excluded as well. So that's system lockout. It'll just lock down your system, increase security, make it so no one can get in during a specified time frame in case you want to do an upgrade or just for general security purposes. Let's take a look at DocSync inside of business processes. DocSync will synchronize the names of your quotes, orders, and invoice. So for example, if a quote is named 1026, the order is 2235, we'll synchronize those with the same number. So they all come out to 1026 or whatever. So that's just going to be a little bit of a simplifier that makes your quotes easier to compare to your invoices and so on. Now hopping into user experience, we have mentor and inspector. I'll show you that, but really quick, I'll show you a quick widget. A cool widget is close confirmation. Close confirmation allows you to, when I hit X, it'll say, do you want to close out of Microsoft Dynamics GP? So it doesn't just close out right away. Sometimes we accidentally hit that X and sometimes we don't want to do that. So that's just one from each of these ideas. You get a little taste of what GP Toolbox has to offer. The next tool I want to show you is going to be Mentor and Inspector. I just kind of talked about those briefly. These are really powerful and kind of work side by side. They're going to be found from this dropdown. Mentor, and then Inspector has Control-Alt-I as a shortcut. But Mentor, we'll start there, is our menu locator. It's going to put menu and locator together, Mentor. And so it's going to locate any place inside of GP, tell us where it is, tell us the path to get there, and then we can also open it from there, and then we can even set up security from Mentor. So it's pretty powerful. One of the tools inside of GP Toolbox is called Reset Batches. It has an interesting path to get to it, so sometimes I forget, and so I love to use Mentor and just hop in here and type in batch reset or reset batches or res bat. As long as you just put in part of what you know, it works similar to SmartFill. It just put in what you know and it will go and try to find it. So I found reset batches, but if I type in res bat, it should also find reset batches, and it did. So if I type in res bat, it found reset batches. I'll see that the path is under Fabricam, Tools, Routines, Toolbox, Reset Batches. Great, now I know how to get there, but I don't have to go down that path. I can actually just double click right here. And now if I had any stuck batches, I could come in here and reset those stuck batches. The cool thing too, let's pull up like a work transaction table. Work order transfer, that's great. We'll pull up the work order transfer or the work order entry update. And then we can see who has access to this window. So you saw I actually didn't have access. So if I hit security right here, we can see who does and doesn't have access. So I'll hit security on that work order transfer. And now we can actually go ahead and set up security of who has access to this window. So let's pick a user, let's say John. It looks like John is a DP manager, so they are able to access this window. If we don't want to them to access that window, we just click that like a button. Now it's fixed. They are not able to view that because they are not DP manager. If we want them to have access to that, we just click it one more time. That stop sign becomes a check sign. It's asking me if I want to redisplay security manager. I'm about to show you security manager in a second. But that is how easy it is to set up your security. Now, when I turn this on and off, the pop-up you're seeing is asking me if I want to redisplay the security manager window, and I keep hitting no because I don't want this to be redisplayed quite yet. But we will show you security manager now. So that was Mentor. Oh, I have to show you Inspector really quick before we get to Security Manager. Sorry, Inspector is going to work kind of side by side with Mentor. It's going to tell us detailed technical information of virtually any window inside of GP. So that includes the table info, the window field info, the combos, etc. So if I drill into my employee file here, if I click on any field, let me go ahead and click View All Tables. Instead, I'll go to Tables containing this field. As I click through the employee ID, I can see the last name is controlled in the payroll master. Here's the table, here's the database, etc. So I can see where these fields are contained, and then I can also switch to the window field info and see all of that as well. So between Mentor and Inspector, you'll always be able to find what you're looking for, and you'll get the detailed technical information as well. So you should have some great insight into GP beyond what you might be able to do by default. Now, as the final tool I have time to show you today, I'm going to show you Security Manager. So hold on to your horses because you might really like this one. So Security Manager is pretty awesome. It's going to give us a grid view that shows us all of our tasks along with the users. Right now, I have it set to view roles and tasks. I can view roles only, roles, tasks, and details, or roles and tasks. So if I put it down to roles only, we can see that if I have selected on their payroll, here's all the payroll security objects and if those users have access to it or not. So this is a great way that you can look at your security inside of GP, because otherwise you'd have to drill into each of these individually. And it's all available here in a grid format. And then we can also change security. So if I want to make John have access to OD payroll, just click the yes and change the no and change it to a yes. Now he has access. If you want to change it back, we can right click or double click it to change it to a no. It's that simple. And then down here, we can see the tasks as well. We're not going to be able to change security at the task level, only at the role level, but we can see what tasks they have access to. And also, we have export and import to Excel. So if you want to export this grid to Excel, make your changes and import it back in, you can do that as well. So that is Security Manager. That is part of GP Toolbox. Again, GP Toolbox is our collection of 27 tools that help you work simpler and easier inside of GP. So to recap, we took a look at SmartFill. SmartFill is our Google style search tool. It's going to help you find information way faster inside of Dynamics GP. We took a look at Auditor. Auditor is our auditing solution. We'll track adds, deletes, and changes anywhere in your GP, especially your HR and payroll module. And it also includes a couple extra bonuses, such as the e-sign capability, where we can put a password protection on a field. And then if it's changed, we can know that change was made. And we have to have a checked balance. So it's a check and balance. So someone has to go and improve that change that was set up as an approver. That isn't the person who made the requested change. We also saw the segregation of duties, which is just going to be a conflict report that shows us how our security is set up, what the roles and tasks that might be in conflict are, so we can then go ahead and adjust our security to make sure there aren't conflicts. And finally, we took a look at GP Toolbox. Didn't have time to hop into all 27 tools, but the most popular one is definitely going to be that inactivity timeout that will free up the license of GP and log out your users after a period of inactivity. We also looked at Mentor and Inspector. That's going to help us locate our menus, set up security on those areas as well. And then Inspector is going to give us the detailed technical information anywhere inside of GP. And it's also handy to know that our solutions will work with your third-party products as well, as long as they're based in Dexterity. And then finally, we took a look at Security Manager, which you're looking at still now, which gives us a nice grid view so we can do all of our security. It's not just limited to payroll, though. We can look at everything if we'd like. So that is all I have time for today. I'm showing you our three solutions here, SmartFill, Auditor, and GP Toolbox. I'd like to hand it back over to Patrick or maybe to Jen and take it from there. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you both. We actually have some questions. So those of you that are listening in, if you have other questions, please put those in the Q&A right now. We'll address those here in just a second, and then I'll put some information up also how to get a hold of Blake or Patrick if you want some additional information about either of those or any of the tools that you saw today. So the first question is do you need to be using a cloud-based version of GP for integrity data, employee self-service, or the Rockton options? Patrick, I'll let you start, and then Blake or I can answer the rest of it.
Thanks. No, you do not. It can work with your existing on-prem GP. There's client-side code that you load that tells it how to communicate with the HR and employee self-service in the cloud.
And same thing with Rockton products as well. You can be on a cloud version or you can be on the desktop version. And either way, the products work. The next question is does the auditing tool work with changes made through ESS? And that question would be yes. Like Blake had mentioned, any third-party product that you have, depending upon the product, you can either, with Auditor, you can either track it at the database level in SQL, or you can track it inside of, if it's an add-on within side of GP, a Dexterity-based application, then you could track those changes within GP. So yes, you have a couple different options there. And then the last question I have so far is, can you show how to set up an audit option on fields? That is something that, let me see. I'm going to grab the name. We will send you some information on how to do that. And yeah, Blake, if you have a second and you want to just pull up the window, you can quickly do that. And then I'm going to share, and we can send some information too.
Yeah, so really quick, your audits are going to set up in your audit groups. You create a group, you name it something intuitive. For example, here's my employee audit, and then I have some audits on the direct deposit as well as the payroll. So if I drill into that, I just drilled into the direct deposit, you can see we have this form right here. And so we have all of these field names, so the employee ID, the account number, the transit number, and anything else here. And then we just have these convenient checkboxes. So if I want to audit it, I just click audit, and now it's auditing that field. If I don't want to audit it, I just unclick it. If I want to audit it with a note, we have this note column right here. You click that, and now it's auditing with a note. And then this first column right here is reference. The reference just allows you to see it. You see that field when you're looking right here. So that is the three options, and that's how you set up that audit. It's pretty simple. As long as you can find the table, you'll add the table here, You double click into it, and then you have a drop down. All the fields are right here, and then you just select the checkboxes to audit, and that's really it. So it's pretty simple and easy to set up.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Any final questions? And as we are waiting for questions, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to take that screen sharing away from you, Blake, here, and I want to make sure to give everybody the information that they need to get a hold of either the folks at Integrity Data or Rockton Software. And then I'll give you guys a few seconds to finish either copying that information down or entering any other questions. And then I will pull up the QR code at the beginning. I had shared some information from a survey that Dynamics Connections has been running, and I'll pull up the QR code that you can scan to see the rest of the results.
Jen, there's one thing that I get asked quite a bit that I forgot to mention, and that was customers always ask if GP user licenses are required for employees to use HR or managers to use HR or self-service. The answer is no, you're not required to add additional Microsoft licensing or GP licensing to be able to use that functionality. I meant to mention that and forgot to, so.
Yeah,
it's a common question.
No, that's good information. Yeah, any other common questions that either of you want to answer, because we do have a couple extra minutes here.
I have a question if you wanted to read it off, Jen. That wasn't answered yet.
Yeah.
Or I can.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, so someone asked, can the new features, the colorful R's, be added a la carte, or is it all for one? So what it sounds like you're asking to me is if you have to buy all 5 of those colorful R's, or if you can just buy one R at a time. The answer is yes, you can just buy one R. You don't have to buy all 5. So you can individually buy the product. So I showed you Auditor, I showed you Smart Fill, and I showed you Toolbox. The exception there is Toolbox has 27 tools. So with Toolbox, all 27 tools are in Toolbox. You can't just buy one tool. So you have to buy all 27 tools, but you can just buy Toolbox. And then same with Auditor. Auditor is its own thing. You can just buy Auditor. And then Smart Fill, the searching solution, you can just buy that. So each colorful R corresponds to a different product, and you can buy one or many.
Yeah.
And then
the other question is are yeah.
And yes.
So yes, this is being recorded, and then it will be emailed out. All right. I think that is it for questions. So let me pull up the QR code for everybody. 1 second. Let me get that. It doesn't look like it wants me to share it through the chat, so we will do it old school. We will go ahead and reshare and share it this way. So if you want to go ahead and screenshot that, and if you can't get that, you can go ahead and reach out to us. We'll make sure to include that as well in the email that will go out with the recording, so that if you want to see the information that the folks at Dynamics Connections is collecting with the GP survey, you can get it that way as well.
Yeah, there's some good information.
Well, I will leave that up. Yeah, there is. I know they've been, I think they've had it open for a little, not quite a year, but it has been interesting to watch the information that they've been collecting. Yeah. But with that, we can go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, Patrick. And thank you, Blake. I appreciate your time. And yeah, look forward to seeing more of you join our GP Optimizer webinars in the future. Thank you all. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.